friends, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is one of our nominees for the BookTube SFF Awards, and it's the first book in a grimdark adult fantasy trilogy. This follows our main character of Nona, and this follows her throughout most of her childhood into early adolescence, and she is a gifted child who is saved from the gallows for attempting to murder a grown man and is taken into a convent of magical assassin nuns, and we follow her journey. And it is wonderful. So first off, I listened to this on audiobook, and I highly recommend the audiobook because the narrator does amazing voices. It's a female narrator and she narrates all these women and it's just amazing. She does really good accents and I loved the audiobook. I could not put it down. Sometimes with audiobooks I'll get like a little bit bored, they'll lose my interest. This was not that way and I plan on listening to the whole series on audio because I am that invested in the audiobook narration. So first off, I'm going to talk about the world building. With the world and the magic system, you do get a little bit just kind of thrown into it. So because this is a grimdark series, this means that the world is grim and dark, and that things are messed up, and a lot of really bad things happen. Now, I've heard some of Mark Lawrence's other series are like way darker and more triggering than this is, but this still has its moments. There's some very gruesome things that happen as far as like torture or battle scenes or goriness or stuff like that, so just be aware if you have more of like a weaker stomach while reading. Probably not going to be your jam, but overall I really like this world. I like these kind of grim dark fantasy worlds. This reminded me at times kind of the Witcher world, not so much with like the beasts and stuff, but just with like the level of like poverty and the magic that people have and the hardship that the people in this world go through. I think that was very much in line with kind of like this Witcher feeling for me, and just kind of the way that the magic is almost like lower level magic, although there is like some crazy stuff they can do, but it's just not the same as like some of these epic fantasy level magic systems. And because of that, it's just kind of a magic system that can be confusing, but it's a magic system and confusion that I forgive. For some reason, there's a lot of things that aren't fully explained because this is a foundational book, and I know we're going to get a lot more as the series goes on, but just some of the ways that the magic seems to work or who has it isn't just laid out for you, and I'm fine with that. If that's something you don't enjoy and you want your magic to be fully explained to you every step of the way, you're probably not going to get that from this series. There is this whole idea that there are kind of lineages or bloodlines that have different abilities, and I really like that because it has this kind of like RPG feel to it, like pick your race and your class and like all of that. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, I'd like to be in this group, you know, like those books that have this kind of like system always has you feeling like, what would I be? You know, like where would I align? And I really like that as well. Next, I'm gonna talk about the characters. This is a very character focused novel, but I wouldn't say that it's completely character driven. It's not slow in any way, in my opinion. So first off, this is very lady focused and it brings me so much joy and happiness because like I said at the beginning, this revolves around and takes place in a convent of magical assassin nuns. It's like a boarding school of magical assassin nuns. It's blessed. And all of these nuns have very distinct personalities, so you have this whole borderline. I don't want to compare it to Hogwarts, but I'm going to because that's what people do. So you have all these like teachers you can fall in love with. You have all these classes that you can envision yourself taking. You have like all of that element that you get with like these boarding school, magical school stories. I feel like this is definitely not in line with like Harry Potter so much, but it would be more like a Name of the Wind that's darker and lady focused. Everything I want. All of these women are really badass, but they all have different character, personality traits, stuff like that. So it's not like it's just like, okay, everybody is a soldier here and everyone's badass. No, you have like, you know, the like shady kind of rogue people. You have the really caring people that do all the nursing. You have like the teachers and you have people that are into the history and the academics and like all of that. And I love it. And Nona as our main character is such a fun character because you follow her basically through her childhood into like early adolescence, and she has her moments where she's kind of unlikable and she's one of these people who's like, she doesn't really trust people, but it's not in an annoying way, at least in my opinion. It doesn't really grate on the nerves the way that some of those kinds of characters can, and she has secrets, but she has a good way of like telling them eventually and stuff like that that's just really fun. And she's an angry character, and I really love angry women. And she's pissed, and she uses her anger as part of her like abilities, and I love angry, impulsive female characters a lot. And since we're following her mostly as a child into early adolescence, you get to see her develop, and I can't wait to see her develop throughout the rest of the series as well. If we follow her, I don't even know if we do, but I want to see more of her and her development and what she goes through, because she's so interesting. Oh, I just love her. But don't be fooled that this is at all YA because we're following like a younger child into early adolescence. No, this is an adult series. This is an adult series. There's also a really huge focus on female friendship and the realities of female friendship. So you have some of these dynamics between these girls where some of them are kind of toxic and some of them are really good. And Nona, one thing that makes you really attached to her, at least it did for me, is that she values friendship above almost everything else. Like, friendship is a sacred bond for her, and that just makes her so wonderful. And so she has these really great like friendships that she does develop, and she just kind of has to figure out where she sits, and that not everybody has the same kind of like loyal devotion the way that she does, but some people do, and just like, I just really enjoy everything about that. There's also magical assassin nuns in love, so that's always a good perk. Then we have the plot. Like I said, this is a lot about characters, but it also is building up this whole plot line and the way that this world works. There's a lot of like political machinations happening as well, so you have that borderline court intrigue, but since you're not in court, you're not having to worry about like all of that. But the way that everything is happening outside of the convent and how it affects the convent, the way that like the religion and the academics and the politics kind of come into play is really interesting, and there is definitely a build-up for later on in the series. You do get some of these flash forward moments, which I think is interesting. A lot of series use flashbacks. This series has a couple moments where it uses these flash forwards, and you get to see some of these characters when they're older, and it's kind of building up to like, here's some of the bigger issues that are happening later that is being hinted at now, and that's really cool and interesting as well. So I'm really enjoying it. This is definitely a foundational book, but it's still a book that I adored because it has so much potential. It's a strong story within this story that gets kind of like wrapped up, but it leaves a lot of things open for the rest of the series, obviously, but not in a way that's like unfulfilling or like too cliffhangery or anything like that. And I really highly enjoyed it. As I was reading it, when I was like maybe not even 20% of the way in, I was texting a bunch of people like, you have to read this. This is amazing. So overall, I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the series. Grey Sister, which is the second book, is already out, and I plan on reading it as soon as I get done with the rest of the BookTube SFF Award nominees, because I loved this so, so much. I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It would have been a 5-star, I think, but the magic and the world stuff can be a little bit convoluted at times. But I still kind of forgive it, and overall I loved it, so 4.5 out of 5 stars. I will be doing a spoilery gush on this book, so go ahead and check that out if you have read this. I will link it on the screen. So comment down below, let me know what you thought of Red Sister. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!